Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Petrus Whistler. I'm a professor here at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, Department of Mechanical and Industrial Engineering, and this is Resume Roast. So, I got a resume from Mr. Chris P. Bacon. Mr. Bacon says that for his engineering program at his university, it is required that they find a co op slash internship every 4 months. As a second year student, he wants feedback on ways he can improve the resume to make the internship process easier and find better opportunities to learn mechanical engineering. Right. So, yeah, this person appears to be from Canada. So, I, of course, am in New Jersey, as you might expect from the name of the school. In Canada, the way that engineering is approached in Canada is that perhaps you could call it a bit more serious, right? In the US, it is not as important for an engineer to get their licensure, right? For a civil engineer, certainly. For a mechanical engineer, not nearly as much. If you are working for Pratt and Whitney, right, you're working for Pratt and Whitney, and there's no real expectation that you would get your PE. Whereas in Canada, I believe if you want to call yourself an engineer, you need that PE, right? And I think part of what Chris is saying with regards to getting a co-op slash internship every 4 months, that's a new one every 4 months. That's kind of crazy. I think that might be part of it, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. So yeah, we'll go into it, right? So I'm not Canadian. I don't have a great sense of what a Canadian company would really care about, but I will approach it as if you're applying to any job. So first off, looking at the header, right? You have to think about where is this resume going to be used, right? There's basically three phases where your resume will be used. One is for the electronic pre-screening, right? They get 1,000 resumes, they need to knock it down. A lot of times they use AI. The second time is going to be an HR review, and the third time is going to be during the interview when the person sits down. I am not convinced that having your LinkedIn is necessarily going to help with that, right? I'm not going to say that it hurts. I assume that you've removed your actual information, but actually have your phone number, email, mostly so that they know you're a real person. Yeah, but yeah, having contact information there. University of Waterloo, right? So, Bachelor of Applied Science in Mechanical Engineering. Coursework, yeah, that's okay thing to have, right? Engineering simulations, mechanics, materials, electromechanical devices, and power processing. Yeah, that's depending on the exact job that you want. That's probably a decent arrangement. You said you're a second year, which means that you're not going to have a huge amount of relevant coursework at this time. So, no, that's fine. But I do note that there is a missing GPA, right? That will be the first question you get for any employer, right? The GPA exists to make their job easier. And unfortunately, right, boil yourself down to one number. It's not fair, but that's what it is. If your GPA is maybe a bit lower than you think it should be, right, remember you can always give your major GPA as you continue on. If you had a really bad first quarter, right, you can give your upperclassman GPA, right? Obviously, you're not an upperclassman yet, but going down, right, so you do education, skills, experience, and selected projects. Overall, I think that structure is good. Looking at skills, Ultima, ANSYS mechanical fluent. Yeah, this it generally seems fine. I I don't know CATIA enough to know why version 5 would be important, but that's probably fine. Right, I know that NX versions can change a lot. SolidWorks, you're one of the first people where SolidWorks is not yelling, but I'm not sure what CSWP is. Ultimum, so that's a circuit board design thing. So, just immediately, I'm wondering if uh, if Altium is just circuit design. I'm not super familiar with it. It might be worth putting towards the end, right? Keep all the CAD stuff together. Just probably easier for them to know. Also, this is a lot of softwares. I would just keep in mind that you need to be able to justify, how good you are at them. If you have a lot of them, sometimes it might be worth putting bolding the ones that you are the most confident in. Just take that for what it is. Software. I wouldn't call it software. I'd say programming, something like that. I mean, it's not software. This is all software, right? Python, LabVIEW. Yeah, that's probably fine. Just be aware that when you say C++, there's a saying C++ is a the saying is that there is a beautiful language trapped within C++. So just be aware that if you're just using C with objects, right? Technically that's C++, but the C++ rabbit hole goes way down. So just be aware of that. I would honestly separate MATLAB and Simulink depending on what you've done. Fabrication. CNC, CAM, mill, lathe. FEA, CFD, I'm not sure those would count as fabrication. I mean, those are design. GD&T, yeah, I guess that's fabrication. SME Y 14.5 is, I think that's the GD&T standards, yeah. So, I mean, these two things are the same. I'm not sure why you have GD&T and ASME Y 14.5. Lean Six Sigma, that's, I guess. DFM, DFA. AS 9100. Standards Quality Management System for the aerospace industry. Yeah, so that kind of goes with that. Yeah, I think fabrication might be a bit misleading there. Not in terms of being naughty, but as far as if I'm reading the resume, I don't think fabrication really captures that. So going down to experience, right? There's a lot here for a second year, right? And the number one thing you always have to keep in mind, right, is what do I want the employer to focus on? And when you have a lot of stuff, right, that question can become a bit more murky, right? From this, you should always put the most important stuff up top, and we'll just kind of look through that. This one happened on Richmond Hill. I know it's Ontario, but so manufacturing engineering intern created load testing procedures for Gulfstream nut plates, failure modes. Load balance, capacity, CMM. Utilizing, just say using. A personal pet peeve of mine. develop process engineering GMAs. Yeah, okay, so this is May to September 2024. So if I'm an employer, right, I mean, you list a huge amount of stuff here. The question that would immediately come into my head is that, May to September, that is going to be not a lot of time. That's about 3 months, right? And the immediate question that I would have as an employer looking at this is, to what extent was this you working with a team versus how much of this was something that you specifically did yourself, right? Because it's not just that this is a lot of stuff, it's a very wide variety of stuff, right? Creating load testing procedures, designing an inkjet fixture, managing documentation, performing a load balance, implementing a study, developing process engineering, right? There's not a huge amount of overlap there. And so, with 6 bullet points, if you even if you say it's all of May, June, July, August, September, right, 5 months, that's essentially 1 month per project, and I'm not saying it's not possible, but just be aware that that's not typically the cadence at which a lot of companies operate. So just make sure that everything you have there is something where you are talking about something that you did specifically, right? So if designing an inkjet fixture, right, to increase efficiency, did you design the entire inkjet fixture? Or was it that you were part of a team who was doing it, right? Just as an example, right? These are the things that if I were reviewing this resume for a company, these are the questions that I would be asking in the interview, right? And be prepared to talk about what you mean by 70% increase efficiency. Just be aware of that. Mechanical team member, aerial robotics, and designing 3D printed lightweight case for ESC, optimizing heat dissipation, okay. Engineered landing gear assembly, VTX modular, led the product design of IMAX. What is IMAX? Can go to the theater and see IMAX, can go to the Apple store and see an iMac. I'm not familiar with what that is. Also, just be aware that ESC is going to be more associated with, right, this key here for a lot of people, more than electronic speed controller. So just be aware of that. Also, VTX, I don't know what that is. Designed an optimized snap fit mounting system, right? Led the product design of that. Yeah, so those all seem like good bullet points. Again, same comment before, right? Make sure that this is what you did, not what the team did, and just make sure that for every bullet point here that you can talk for a few minutes about specifically what you did, what you learned, what skills you applied. Right? Mechanical engineering intern. We skipped the suspension team member. Manufactured brake bobbins, brake calipers, operated a mill. Yeah, I mean, January 2024 to present. If you were to drop something, I'd say drop this, right? I mean, it's good to show that you have manufacturing experience here, but I'm not sure that if you are going for like a car company, it might be worth it. But if all this boils down to is I used some machine shop stuff, is that really going to be the best thing to have? Especially considering that you have some pretty narrow margins. Again, I don't know if these margins are typical for a Canadian company, but just be aware of that. So beyond that, I'm just gonna quit out of that. Power sports engineering company conducted root cause analysis with lead engineer, engineered carrier bearing to automate using VBA. Cutting retrieval time by 90%. So September, October, November, December, right? 4 months, 3 bullets. Again, at least with the internships that I did, there were maybe 1 or 2 projects that we did. It might be different based on where you are, but that's just something that leaps out at me. Kind of similar comments above. Again, automotive engineering company. If these are the same, it might be worth kind of combining these. I'm not sure. Power sports, automotive. Led comprehensive testing. You said you're a second-year student, right? If you're a second-year student, right, this would have been in your first year. So as a freshman, for a company, you led comprehensive testing, right? Immediately, that's something that jumps out at me. I don't know what the background is, right? If you worked for a few years in industry before, like as a machinist, that might start to make sense. But the stuff that doesn't make sense to me is this being a second year student and having doing all this. That's something that immediately doesn't make sense to me. Because interns don't get to lead anything, right? They can work on something, but they're not the leader. The engineers who are, I don't want to say babysitting, but just in my experience in aerospace, some interns were a lot more independent than others, but in general, it was very siloed. So I'm not sure about that. Also, just lifespan testing is something where you have a lot of processes already in place. Enhanced test data accuracy through rigorous implemented Six Sigma methodologies. Selected projects, gantry-driven autonomous chess robot. Designed and constructed 3-axis gantry system. Chess pieces precisely. Develop C++ code to enable real-time control by integrating gyroscopes and ultrasonic sensors, touch actuators, mechanical split flap display. Display 6-character messages. Yeah, so I mean those are good. So I'm a bit conflicted on this one, right? I mean, the overall resume is good, right? There's not a lot to really criticize here from perspective of how it's organized, how it's presented, right? But yeah, it's the right one. So for my engineering program, as a sophomore, second year student. Yeah, it just seems out of step for a second year. And, I'm not doubting that the internships tried to expose you to a lot of different things. But just be careful not to overstate what you did, right? I'm not doubting that these were all things that you worked on, but especially for something like this, led comprehensive testing. I would not trust an intern to lead something, right? I would trust a very good intern to work somewhat independently, but I would just be careful with how you present stuff. Yeah. Again, I don't know Mr. Crispy Bacon, but it's something that I would really want to know more, right? But okay, so that was kind of my roast of the resume. If you're interested in having me take a look at your resume, there is a description below this video that kind of goes through that. And yeah, I hope that was helpful to people, and have a good day.